funeral was too quiet. Hey, night listener. Tonight, we enter the shadows. Dim street lights flicker over damp asphalt as if trying to forget what they've seen. Rain taps gently on the window beside you, like fingers drumming a nervous rhythm. In the distance, footsteps echo off brick alleys measured, but unclaimed. If this story found you, maybe it's because you've been followed too. So, before we vanish into this mystery, like the video and subscribe only if you can handle the truth buried beneath the lies. Tell me where you're listening from, and tell me, are you drawn to the truth, the thrill, or the justice? Now lock your doors, take a deep breath, and follow me into the dark. You're standing near the back of the chapel. Everyone else is seated. All eyes face forward toward the coffin at the altar, toward the framed photo of Thomas Evelyn smiling a decade too young. You don't sit, because something feels wrong. Not wrong like grief. Grief is a storm you can map. This is quieter, muted. The widow, Marianne, hasn't cried once, not even when the casket rolled past her. Her hands stay folded. Her eyes don't blink often enough. And when the pastor mentions Thomas's honor and legacy, she offers the faintest smile, like someone remembering a lie told so often it's become true. That smile is your first clue. Afterward, no one lingers. You stand by the doors, nodding at strangers who claim they were friends of his, co-workers, distant cousins. None of them knew him well, but all of them repeat the same phrase. He was a good man. It's almost rehearsed. Outside, the air is wet with the scent of roses and mud. You watch the hearse pull away. The driver doesn't check the rearview mirror. Neither does Marianne. She's already lighting a cigarette with shaky fingers. You approach her. She offers you the pack. You shake your head. She doesn't press. I didn't expect you to come, she says. You invited me. You reply. She exhales slowly, out of courtesy, not curiosity. That's when you ask about the drawer. Her lips twitch, not quite a flinch, but enough. It's locked, she says. Has been for years. Even Tom didn't open it. You nod. Mind if I try? She tilts her head. If you think ghosts leave keys, you don't smile, because that drawer isn't just about secrets. It's about permission, and Marianne just gave it to you. Later that night, you return alone. The house is dark, but not empty. It never is. Thomas's study smells like aftershave and paper, a subtle trace of something sour underneath, like mold trying to speak. The drawer is exactly where it always was, bottom right, under his writing desk. You try it. Locked, but not jammed. The kind of lock that isn't meant to keep you out forever, just long enough for someone else to decide whether you should know. You lean back and scan the room. Photographs, books, certificates of service, a chessboard with one knight missing. Everything is too neat, like someone wanted to leave a legacy behind, not a life. You hear something behind you, footsteps, but when you turn, the hallway is empty. Still, your breath catches, not from fear, but recognition, because you knew, but pretended you didn't. You always knew Thomas Evelyn's life was built on something more fragile than the truth. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. And the quiet in that chapel today, it didn't feel like mourning. It felt like relief. The locked drawer had no key. The next morning, you return with gloves and a small flashlight. You don't tell Marianne. You wait until she leaves for her late Pilates class, the one she scheduled even before the funeral. The drawer resists your efforts like it's been waiting for years to deny you. You try the usual tricks. Paper clips, hairpins, leverage against the metal lip. Nothing. It doesn't budge. But the strange part isn't how locked it is, it's how clean it is. No dust along the groove. No scratch marks from years of opening and closing. No fingerprints. Like it was sealed the day it was installed. You kneel, light up the underside of the desk, and that's when you see the faint red etching underneath the wood, where no eyes should have reached. 3 digits, 841. You whisper them to yourself, unsure if it's a code or just a coincidence. You check the side drawers. A small, leather-bound planner rests under a stack of bills. Page 8, line 4, word 1. It reads, forget. You close the book. Your reflection stares back at you from the glass cabinet. It's distorted, warped by the curved crystal. You almost don't recognize yourself. You ask out loud, what did you make them forget? Thomas. The house doesn't answer, but the clock ticks louder now, like it's eavesdropping. In the living room, you pass the framed family photo again, but this time, you stop. You take it off the wall. You check the back. Nothing. You put it down on the coffee table. That's when you notice something. The shadows in the photograph don't line up. The light source is wrong. Everyone's face is lit from the left, except Thomas's. His is shadowed from the right, like he was never standing in the same place. You go back to the drawer and knock on it. Hollow. You press your ear to it. Tick, tick, tick. Not a clock, a timer. You sit back on your heels and think about the drawer again. If it's not a container, it's a message, a countdown. You hear Marianne's car pull into the driveway. You rise quickly, cover your tracks, turn the picture face down, because suddenly you're not searching anymore. You're being baited. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who leave puzzles instead of answers. It was never about hiding the key. It was about whether you'd be the one to go looking. The widow smiled at the wrong moment. Later that evening, you sit with Marianne in the kitchen. 2 mugs of coffee, hers untouched, yours already cold. You ask her about the funeral again. Not directly. You drift sideways into it. He would have liked the music. The pastor didn't seem to know him well. Funny how quiet people get when they're relieved. That's when it happens. You mention Thomas's army service. A passing reference. A line from the eulogy about bravery under pressure. And she smiles. A soft, subtle curve, like remembering a joke she isn't allowed to tell. You catch it before she erases it with a sip. Did that bring back a memory, you ask? She looks up, blinking too fast. Excuse me. The smile? When I mentioned his service, she shakes her head, laughing now, but too light, too thin. No, nothing. It just, I remembered a story he used to tell about his bunkmate who used to sleep with a combat knife under the pillow. Paranoid as hell, said if you hear footsteps at 2:18 a.m., don't move. Either they're coming for you, or they already did. She stirs the coffee she won't drink. The spoon clinks too long against ceramic. You say nothing, because something's off. Thomas never served. You check the records. He donated to veteran causes. Sure, but there's no enlistment file, no discharge papers, not even a boot camp photo. He wasn't in the system, and Marianne knows that. She's the one who told you, years ago, that he talked like a soldier, but never was one. So why say it now? Why smile? You excuse yourself. Back in the study, you check his bookshelf. Middle row, right side, The Art of War, bookmarked. You pull it free. A small photograph falls out. It's Thomas, maybe 20 years younger, wearing fatigues, standing next to someone with their face scratched out in red pen. Your breath catches. The scratch marks aren't random, they're deliberate. 3 slashes perfectly aligned, like someone was counting. You flip the photo over. On the back, in fading ink, I told her the first 2 were accidents. The third won't be. You sit down, suddenly cold all over, because you don't know who her is. But Marianne just smiled at the mention of wall like it was an inside joke. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially when the lie keeps them alive. It was never about honoring Thomas. It was about keeping his story straight, even after he was gone. The photograph that wasn't taken the next day. You go through the photo albums. They're stacked in the hallway closet, labeled by year, by vacation, by holiday, but none labeled by emotion. And that's what you're looking for now. The moments they should have captured, the spaces where memory skips like a scratched record. You flip through pages until your fingers slow on 2009, a family reunion in Maine. Laughter frozen on beach towels, barbecue grills, plastic cups raised to the lens. You spot Marianne, younger, glowing, and there's Thomas beside her, arm draped casually. But then a blank pocket, no caption, just an empty slot, its plastic sleeve crinkled and sun yellowed, like something once lived there and vanished without ceremony. You check the back of the sleeve, a single word, written in blue ballpoint, proof. Not a name, not a date, just proof. The next album is even stranger. The same year, different occasion, a holiday party. Marianne in a red dress, a string of lights tangled around the staircase. Everyone smiling, except Thomas. He's never in more than 1 photo per album, and always slightly off-blurred, turned away, obscured by someone else's shoulder, like he didn't belong, like someone was careful. You slide a photo out and hold it to the light. A faint crease cuts across the bottom, ripped and taped back together. You peel it open with care. There's a second image beneath, hidden by the fold. A man, not Thomas, not anyone you recognize, but standing in the exact same pose, with the same woman on his arm. Marianne, same dress, same house, different man. You hear the click of the front door. Marianne's home. You slide the photo back, fast. Close the album. Back into the closet. She doesn't call your name, just walks up the stairs, slow and even, no tension in her steps. You wait, then follow 3 steps behind, careful not to make a sound. Her door clicks shut, and you're left staring at the top step, where a small square of torn photo rests, like a breadcrumb from a story she never meant to tell. You pick it up, Thomas, or someone wearing his face, but the eyes are wrong, too calm, too sure. You whisper, "Who the hell are you?" But the hallway has no answers, only a ticking clock at the end of it. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially when a photograph is missing. It was never about what was captured. It was about what had to be erased. The business partner's nervous hands. You meet him at a bar shaped like a secret dark corners, no windows, and a jukebox that hasn't changed its playlist since the Reagan years. Roger Bloom is already 2 drinks in when you arrive. He doesn't rise to greet you, just lifts his glass in a salute that feels more like surrender. "Didn't expect to see you again," he says. "Not after the box closed." You sit opposite him. No drink, no coat, just questions. "What box, you ask?" Roger swirls the ice in his glass. Thomas's drawer. The one in the study. Everyone knows about the damn drawer. No one's ever opened it. He fidgets with the cocktail napkin, folding it into corners, then unfolding, like a man keeping his fingers busy so they don't betray him. You notice the pen in his pocket. It has Thomas's initials on the clip. Roger follows your eyes and sighs. He gave it to me last spring. Said he didn't need to write things down anymore. You wait. Let the silence do its work. Finally, he cracks. Listen, he says. Tom, he had layers, like those Russian dolls. You open one, there's another. But I never expected him to. To lie, you finish. Roger snorts. To vanish, you stiffen. He's dead. Roger leans in, voice low. Sure, right. But ask yourself something. Who planned the funeral? Who called the shots? Who got all the paperwork filed in less than 48 hours? You already know the answer. Marianne? Exactly. And she didn't cry. Not once. You think that's grief? That's strategy. You slide the pen out of his pocket. Roger lets you. It's warm. There's a small crack near the base, like it's been dropped. You twist it open. Nothing inside. Then again, click, click. The sound echoes like a metronome against your ribs. A hollow tip, designed to hold something. Roger says nothing. You tap it twice on the table. A sliver of paper drops out. Not paper, film. A thin strip of developed negatives. 3 frames, all of the same moment. Thomas, arguing with someone in a suit. A hand raised mid-gesture. The next frame shows Thomas turning away. And the last. The suited man holding something sharp. You ask, do you know who that is? Roger doesn't look, just drinks. I never met the man, but I saw that face once, when the day before Thomas died, sitting outside his office, waiting. You stare at the film, cold creeping into your spine. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who pretend to forget. It was never about mourning Thomas. It was about who needed him gone first. The letter in the fireplace. You don't sleep that night. The negatives burn behind your eyelids. That suited man with the knife-like stare, he doesn't just look dangerous. He looks known, but from where you reach for memories like keys in the dark, only to find shadows shaped like guilt. By morning, you're back at the Evelyn house. Marianne is in the garden, trimming roses with clinical precision. Her gloves are spotless, but you'd bet anything they weren't always. You slip into the study again. Same desk, same locked drawer. You stare at it longer this time, like if you wait patiently enough, it might whisper its secret. But the drawer is silent. Your gaze shifts to the fireplace. It hasn't been used in weeks, maybe longer. The logs are perfectly stacked, too perfectly, like they've been arranged for show. You kneel, brush aside the ash with your gloved fingers. Then you find it, a corner of yellowed paper, half burned and curled like a dying leaf. You coax it out, careful not to tear it further. Most of the letter is gone charred to black lace, but one fragment clings to legibility. Don't come here again. If she sees you, it's over. And at the bottom, just a first initial, M. You sit back, knees pressing into the rug's floral weave. A letter, hidden in flame, signed by a ghost. Not Thomas's handwriting. His was tighter, neater. This script wavers, frantic. Someone scared. You hold the scrap up to the window light. There's a faint watermark, Long Hill Clinic. You've heard of it. A private psychiatric facility 2 counties over. Mostly hushed referrals and locked doors. The kind of place people go to disappear with medical justification. And suddenly, a memory punches through a birthday party 3 years ago. Marianne stepped away to take a call. You caught only a sliver. No, she hasn't remembered anything. I said it's contained. You thought it was business. Now you're not so sure. You confront her that afternoon. You don't accuse. You observe. Thomas ever go to Long Hill? She doesn't flinch. He visited an old friend once, years ago. Someone in treatment. She shrugs. Who else would be there? And what about the letter in the fireplace? Her hands stop pruning. She looks up slowly. You've been in the study. I've been lied to. There's a difference. She walks toward you, slow, deliberate. You think you're hunting truth, she says, but all you're doing is waking up ghosts. You step back, and for a split second, you see it, the flicker behind her eyes. Fear. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who keep firewood for secrets. It was never about what Thomas knew. It was about what someone was desperate to keep forgotten. The voice message that wasn't meant for you. The phone buzzes just after midnight. A private number. No name. You let it ring twice before your finger taps playback. It's a voicemail, but no one speaks. At first, only static, distant breathing, then the scrape of something metal against tile, maybe. Then a voice, soft, familiar. She knows. She saw the file. You told me this was clean. Then silence again, followed by the click of a phone being placed mentally onto a table. And finally, the unmistakable sound of retreating footsteps. The call ends. You sit up, throat dry. The voice wasn't Thomas's, and it wasn't Roger's. It was yours, but you've never said those words. You checked the timestamp. 11:54 p.m. Just 6 minutes ago. But you haven't spoken to anyone all night. You stare at your reflection in the black mirror of the screen. A cracked version of yourself stares back. Your chest tightens. Your past didn't just bleed into this, it's stitching the whole damn thing together. You search your call log, nothing there. You check your audio files. One new recording, hidden in a nested folder you didn't create. A file named Echo07.wave. You play it again. That voice. It's your voice. But it's saying things you haven't said, at least not that you remember. You fast forward. At the very end, a second voice mutters, erase the original. Feed him the copy. And then a name, June. Your pulse slows, not out of calm, but focus. You knew a June once, June Ravel. She was a data engineer, worked with Thomas on a short-lived consultancy project. You never met her in person, only emails, cryptic threads about behavioral algorithms and memory drift. You never thought much of it. Until now, you search your inbox. Nothing recent, but you remember the old address at Ravelfield.net. You try the domain. It's dead, but buried in your archives. A folder marked unsorted. You find it an email from June, dated 2 years ago. Subject line, he's not who you think. It contains only one thing, an attachment. A photo of you and Thomas, standing together in an alley you don't recognize, both of you smiling. But the timestamp is wrong. The date is listed as October 4th, 2016, the same day you were overseas. Hospital records, passport stamps. Even Marianne remembers the postcard. You were in Spain, but the photo says otherwise. And worst of all, you're holding the same pen Roger had in the bar, the one with the hidden film. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who look exactly like you. It was never about catching the killer. It was about remembering which version of you helped him. The therapist who changed her name. You called the number listed on the old Long Hill Clinic brochure. Just a guess, but something tells you June wasn't just a data engineer. People who know how to rewrite audio logs usually know how to rewrite people, too. The receptionist gives you nothing, says all past patient and visitor records are sealed. For everyone's protection, she chirps, You almost laugh, but she slips. When you ask if Dr. Revel still practices there, the line goes silent for 2 seconds too long. Then, no one by that name has ever been affiliated with Long Hill. She hangs up before you can press further. So you dig. Not online, those results are curated. You go old school, printed newsletters, court filings, tax rolls, anything from the county archives. It takes hours, but then you find it. Dr. Junior Eleanor Ravel, filed under a legal name change, now listed as Dr. Eleanor Maris, specialization, memory trauma and cognitive reconstruction. Your hands go cold. Because that name sounds familiar for a reason. She testified in Thomas's workplace arbitration 10 years ago, said his mental clarity had improved significantly with coaching, but she never said she coached him. She said someone else had. You dig deeper. Eleanor Maris now operates under a new clinic name, the Fourth Room, private, by referral only. You find a photo of the building, a gray townhouse with no signage, and a door with 4 vertical scratches down the center, like someone had tried to claw their way through. You drive there the next day. No receptionist, just an intercom. You press the button. A buzz. Then a woman's voice. Do you know your number? You pause. Say, 7? There's a pause. Then the lock clicks open. Inside, it smells like lemon and paper. Soft jazz plays from nowhere. The walls are hung with oil paintings of windows that open to pitch black skies. You wait in the front room. No sign of her. Then a door opens, and a woman enters. Hair grayer, eyes sharper. It's her, Dr. Morris, June Ravel. She sees you and doesn't look surprised. Which memory did it? She asks. You don't answer, because suddenly you don't remember why you came. Just that something important was taken from you. And now it's sitting in this room, wearing a name that used to be someone else's. You try to ask her about Thomas, about the voice message, about the lie in the photograph. But all that comes out is, did I help him? And she smiles, not kindly, not cruelly, just like someone who's heard the question too many times from too many versions of you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. She says, everyone lies, especially the ones who forget. Then she slides a key across the table. Old, brass, cool to the touch. Room 4, she says. That's where the truth was buried. You leave without another word, and all the way home, you grip the key like it might unlock you. It was never about who manipulated Thomas. It was about who led them. The room that remembered everything. The townhouse lives in a cul-de-sac that pretends to be quiet. But behind the shutters and trimmed hedges, you feel it, the pulse of hidden truths. Room 4 is upstairs, at the end of a narrow hall lined with mirrors that show just enough to make you doubt which reflection is yours. The key slides into the lock without resistance. Click. Inside, no furniture, just a low-hanging light bulb and a single chair facing the center. You close the door behind you. There's a notebook on the floor. You kneel. Its cover is weathered thick paper, soft at the edges like it's been handled too many times by hands that didn't want to let go. You open it. The first page isn't written in ink. It's burned in. Test Subject 4, Iteration 17. Your throat goes dry. You flip the pages. Most are scribbled diagrams, timelines, snippets of conversations with initials beside each M, T, G, and Y, U. There are notes written like journal entries, but they're not in your handwriting. They're about you. Observations. Subject 4 continues to resist memory replacement, past 9.2 days, behavioral consistency drops after auditory cue exposure. See entry 23B. Most stable when guilt narrative is reinforced. You sit hard in the chair because it all starts to make sense. The drawl, the pen, the voice message, the versions of yourself slipping through the cracks. This was never about solving a crime. It was about repeating one until you believed you didn't commit it. The walls feel closer now. You glance up and realize there's a projector mounted in the ceiling corner. It whirs softly, then clicks on. The white wall flares to life. A video plays. You, in this very room, crying, saying Thomas's name, saying June's name, saying, I didn't know what they were going to do. The image flickers. June steps into frame, comforting you, then injecting something into your arm. You flinch back from the chair. The video freezes on your own face. Eyes wide, mouth mid-confession. There's a symbol stamped in the bottom corner of the screen, MK0421. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who've been rewritten. It was never about the drawer. It was about what version of you put the key inside it. The photograph that was never taken. The hallway outside room 4 isn't the same. You swear it. Same shape, same mirrors, but your reflection's tie is askew. Your hair parted the opposite way. Subtle. Small wrongs that pile up like fingerprints you never left. You descend the stairs fast, 2 at a time. The front door where you came in is gone. In its place a wall of framed photographs, all black and white, all candid, some of strangers, some of you. You pause at the one nearest eye level. You're sitting on a park bench beside Thomas. He's laughing. You aren't. You're looking directly into the camera. You don't remember the moment, but the angle is familiar. You look for a reflection, and there it is, caught in the polished rim of a nearby trash can in the image. The photographer, June. You peel the photo off the wall. There's something etched into the back, almost carved. No version of you gets away clean. You stare at the ink until your vision stutters. Then, something behind the wall clicks. One of the frames shifts slightly. You press it. It gives way to a recessed compartment. Inside a single envelope, a film negative strip, and a flash drive. You pocket the envelope, but the flash drive, it hums, literally, vibrating lightly in your palm, like it's alive with what you shouldn't know. Back outside, night has fallen. You don't remember it being afternoon. The sky has gone violet gray. No stars. The kind of sky that promises a storm, but never delivers, just waits. You get in the car. Drive without choosing a direction. Eventually, you pull into a closed-down motel with a flickering sign, The Echo Inn. You laugh. It sounds foreign. Inside the room, no TV, just a lamp and an old laptop. You plug in the drive. 3 files. Session 04A. Moves. Reconstruction course plan. PDF. Emergency exit. TXT. You open the video first. Thomas, tied to a chair, looking into the camera, blinking slowly. Voice cracked. If you're seeing this, I didn't break. I was rewritten. They fed me a script, and I played it. For your sake, your blood goes cold. He swallows, continues. You always told me the lie would save us. I never believed it, until I started to forget the truth. That was the trade. A long pause. She said you'd find this eventually. If you're watching now, she was right. You pause the video, heart hammering. You open the PDF next. Pages of charts, logs, psychological triggers, memory suppression techniques, a flowchart titled Narrative Consistency Protocol. Subject 4. The listener, the final line reads, "Do not allow subject 4 access to original timeline events past cycle 6. If they breach, initiate collapse protocol." You sit still, staring at the lamp, wishing it would flicker, wishing it would go out. You open the final file. It's one sentence. "There is no exit." Then a string of coordinates. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who think they're finding the truth. It was never about solving the crime. It was about staying inside the story long enough to forget you caused it. The coordinates that shouldn't exist. You don't believe in fate, but you enter the coordinates anyway. The map centers on a patch of forest just outside Belridge, an old town known mostly for forgotten factories and stories passed down like rumors in truck stops. You've never been there, but your car's GPS says it's only 42 minutes away, and that makes your skin crawl. By the time you arrive, the sun is just a bruise behind the trees. Dying light filters through skeletal branches. A sign rotted and shot full of holes reads, "Research Site Clearance Level 7. Required." The chain link gate is rusted open. The road beyond is barely that, just enough gravel to feel like someone once wanted people to find this place. But not anymore. The trees open up into a clearing. At the center sits a white building with no windows. It has no markings, just a single steel door, and someone painted a number across it in red 4. You shouldn't go inside, but you already have, haven't you? Your memories twitch. Out of focus flashes of walking these halls, the smell of antiseptic, the hum of fluorescent lighting, the taste of metal. Inside, it's colder than outside. No reception desk, no cameras, just corridors, like a maze built by someone who understood paranoia better than architecture. You take the left hall, and there it is again, a wall of photographs, like the one in the townhouse, but this time, they're all you. Same face, different expressions, different settings. In one, you're holding a key. In another, you're screaming at a mirror. In the last one, you're hugging Thomas with a wire sticking out from behind your ear. Your fingers trace the edge of the final photo. There's a ripple in your chest, like a memory trying to break surface. You turn, and someone's standing at the end of the corridor. June. She doesn't move, doesn't blink, just says, "You weren't supposed to see this version." You step forward. What was I supposed to see? Her eyes narrow. The lie. The clean one. The one where Thomas was guilty. And you got to live with that. You're shaking. You manipulated everything. "No." She says, "We did." You agreed. "You just don't remember." She walks forward. Slowly. You wanted to forget. You begged for it. And we built the lie around that request. She holds up a device, small, metallic, glowing faintly. "Reset or continue?" she asks. Your mouth goes dry, because now the paranoia isn't about what you've forgotten. It's about what you might have chosen to forget. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially those who make the rules. It was never about exposing a killer. It was about silencing the one who wasn't supposed to survive. The voice behind the mirror. You don't answer? Not out loud. You just look at the device in June's hand, smooth, gunmetal gray with no buttons. Just a thin, blinking line across its center, like a waiting heartbeat. Reset or continue? As if the story still plays by choices. You shake your head. June sighs. Then we're past the point of protocol. She pockets the device and walks down the hallway, not hurried, not scared, like she already knows how this ends. You follow. At the hallway's end is a room with one-way glass. You step inside. On the other side, a replica of your apartment. down to the cracked photo frame on the windowsill and the burn mark on the kitchen towel. Except something's off. On the couch is you, or a version of you, reclined, breathing slowly, monitored, wires in your neck, your temple, your wrist. You flinch. June doesn't even look. That one's from Cycle 9, she says. Still believes he's investigating Thomas's disappearance. You step closer to the glass, the replica. You shifts in his sleep, murmurs something. You press your ear against the mirror. He says your name. Then I'm not ready yet. Behind you, June's voice goes soft. Do you get it now? This was never about guilt. It was about containment. We had to build a world you wouldn't try to escape. You ask her, why Thomas? She chuckles. Thomas volunteered. He loved you. You don't want to believe it. She continues, voice like static under the skin. He said he'd rather be the villain in your piece than the hero in your truth. A loud buzz cuts through the silence. An intercom lights up on the wall. New breach detected. Subject 4. Timeline unstable. You turn to June. What happens now? She doesn't answer. Just walks to a side panel, pulls down a lever, and the glass turns into a mirror. Your reflection now shows 3 versions of you. The one in the room behind the glass, the one staring back in this corridor, and a third one flickering in and out of sync, blood on his shirt, eyes too wide, breathing too fast. Which one's the original? June asks. You don't know. You don't even know if it matters. What if none of them are real? What if you were the lie Thomas told? You stare into the mirror. A crack begins to spread through the glass like a branching tree. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who forget their own face. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You reach out, touch the mirror. It's warm, like breath, and then it exhales. And the version of you behind the glass opens his eye. The face that didn't flinch. He stares at you. The you behind the mirror, not blinking, not breathing fast, just watching, like he's waiting for you to say something that only one of you remembers. June doesn't move, doesn't speak. She just lets the silence wrap around your throat like a velvet rope. And then the glass flickers again, and you're in the room now. Not behind the mirror, not outside it, but inside. The couch, the wires, the smell of antiseptic and something burnt. You turn, June is gone. The lights hum above. A soft monitor beside you pulses green with your vitals. At least, it used to. Now the line's flat. Not dead, not alive, just off script. The door opens. Someone steps in. Not June, not Thomas, but a man in a suit you almost recognize. You've seen him in photographs, always at the edges, always slightly out of focus. The man with the cufflinks shaped like hourglasses, the one your subconscious tried to pixelate into the background. He smiles. Subject 4, or should I say, Witness 0. You don't reply, because the name lands like a hook in the base of your brain. You do remember it, somewhere buried deep beneath the cycles, the resets, the revisions. You were the original, the first witness to something they couldn't afford to let out. A memory sharpens like glass catching sun, a basement, a body, a conversation between Thomas and June you were never meant to hear. And you said, I have to report this. Thomas begged, please, we can fix it. You didn't listen. You went to the police. And then the lie began. You were never guilty. The man says now, but you were never innocent either. He holds up a folder, your name stamped across the top, bold and final. Inside it, Every version of the story they fed you, every confession they molded, every truth you swallowed like poison with a sugar coat. And now they don't need you to believe it anymore. They need you to stop existing inside it. He places a small black box on the table beside you. One button, no label. You press this. The cycle ends, he says. No more loops, no more truth. You look up at him. And if I don't, he shrugs. Then you stay, alone, in here, forever. He walks out, closing the door behind him. The room falls silent. You stare at the button and the mirror. Only now, it reflects nothing, just a blank space where your face should be. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially when the only witness is a mirror. It was never about the confession. It was about who lived long enough to forget making it. The safe that whispers at night. You wake in the dead silence of your apartment. The clock reads 3:33 a.m. But something else wakes too, a soft mechanical whisper that draws your gaze toward the study. The wall safe, the one Thomas always insisted was just for documents, is slightly ajar. You never heard it open. You never saw it move. You sit up, breath catching like the first breath after a dive. The safe hums faintly, a low electronic pulse, almost like a heartbeat. You stand, approach, inside. A single object glints beneath the dim light, a black leather-bound journal, your initials engraved on the cover. You open it. Pages inside are blank, except for one, at the back, written in hurried scrawl. The lie was designed to protect. The truth is designed to destroy. You flip back. At the front page, a photo is taped inside. Thomas's smile. But the eyes are cold, unblinking, and the background, a mirror cracked down the center. You close the journal, but the whispering doesn't stop. It's coming from the wall behind the safe. You press your ear to the concrete. Soft scratches, like fingernails clawing the other side. You back away. The safe clicks shut, and the whisper turns into a voice, low, insistent. You were never supposed to find this. You realized the safe was never locked. It was a trap. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who put secrets where no one would dare look. It was never about protecting Thomas. It was about protecting the lie that outlived him. The son story that doesn't add up. You meet him in a cafe that smells like burnt coffee and lost afternoons. Michael Evelyn, Thomas's son, is younger than you expected, tense, restless. He sips a black coffee like it's medicine. You ask about the night his father collapsed, the official story, the stroke, the sudden, unexplained end. Michael shifts. It wasn't like that. You lean in. He bites his lip. Dad was scared. Not of death, of something worse. You ask what? He looks around, lowers his voice. He told me someone was following him, watching, waiting. You press for details. Michael hesitates. I don't remember much, but I remember the knocks, the lights going out, the phone calls with no one on the line. You note the timeline. Michael says the last call was 3 nights before the funeral. You ask who he called. No one. Just silence. You ask about Marianne. Michael's eyes flash. She wasn't herself. Not after Dad got sick. You press. He runs a hand through his hair. One night, I heard them arguing. But when I checked, she was alone. You pause. Who do you think she was talking to? He looks at you. Voice barely above a whisper. Someone who isn't here anymore. You glance at his hands. They're shaking. Not from fear. From holding on to secrets too heavy to carry. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who don't want to bury the past twice. It was never about a sudden death. It was about a family fractured by a lie that refused to die. The housekeeper who heard the shadows. The housekeeper, Mrs. Lang, isn't what you expected. Petite, gray-haired, with eyes like chipped glass, she moves quietly, but not like she's trying to hide, more like she's carrying a storm beneath her calm. You find her in the kitchen, polishing silverware with slow, deliberate strokes. She doesn't look up when you enter. "You wanted to see me," she says, voice low. You nod. She wipes her hands on her apron and leads you to the back of the house. The stairs creak underfoot, complaining about decades of secrets. She stops at the study door. "I don't go in there anymore," she says. "Why?" She swallows. "Because I hear things, footsteps, whispering, at night." You press. Whose footsteps? Not ours, not anyone living here, but they're there, always. You ask if she's told Marianne. Mrs. Lang shakes her head. She says it's the house settling, or my imagination. You look at the door again. It's cracked, just enough for a shadow to slip through. You push it open. Inside, the air is thick. You smell something coppery. Blood gnome ink, old ink, dried on a cracked journal, left open on the desk. You pick it up. Pages filled with handwriting that isn't Thomas's, more like a code, an address, a date, tonight. You turn to Mrs. Lang. She's expecting you. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who listen to the shadows. It was never about the house settling. It was about the secrets that never let it rest. The will that benefited a stranger. You hold the last will and testament in your hands. The paper is heavier than you expected. Crisp, clean, untouched by time or finger smudges. The lawyer hands you the envelope, eyes darting like a guilty animal. You open it. Thomas left everything to a woman named Claire Danvers. No relation listed. No explanation. You ask the lawyer about her. He shrugs. She's not in the family records. No known connection. You dig. No social media. No public records. No property. It's like she never existed, except in Thomas's will. You try to find her. You ask around. Neighbors don't know. Colleagues don't recognize the name. Your phone buzzes. An email. No subject. Just a photo. Claire, standing outside a cabin miles from the nearest town. Her eyes glint sharp, like she knows something you don't. You call the number embedded in the email. No answer. But a voice message plays. Claire's voice, calm, measured. "He told me to wait, to be patient, to protect what he left behind." You replay it. A second message follows. "If you want the truth, you have to go deeper. But beware the deeper you go, the less you like what you find." You're left holding the phone, wondering how much of Thomas's life was a lie, and how much of his death was the final chapter. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who inherit secrets instead of money. It was never about who got the estate. It was about who got to keep the lie alive. The burial that wasn't his. The cemetery is quiet under the cold dawn. You stand before a polished granite headstone bearing Thomas Evelyn's name, date of birth, and death. But the ground beneath it isn't settled. Too fresh. You crouch, brush away the topsoil. Cold metal. A coffin, but not the one you expected. The plaque on the coffin reads a different name. Robert Sinclair. You stand, heart pounding. You thought you knew the man who died, but you didn't. You walk back to the churchyard office, demand records. They're out of place. Death certificate, funeral arrangements, everything mismatched. You find the embalmer's notes. They list Thomas, Evelyn, but the body, it was someone else. You think of Marianne, her silence, her rehearsed grief. You think of the lie you've been told, or the one you've been living. You look around the cemetery. The wind whistles through the graves like it's trying to tell a story. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who bury bodies for convenience. It was never about resting in peace. It was about burying the truth where no one would dig. The man who died years ago. You've been running DNA tests, checking every file, cross-referencing dental records, comparing fingerprints, and it all points to one impossible truth. Thomas Evelyn died years before his funeral. Your brain tries to reject it, clings to denial, but the data doesn't lie. Somewhere in the system, a mix-up, a replacement, or a manufactured life. You ask around. No one admits to mistakes. Instead, you find a trail of name changes, expired IDs, false aliases. The man who just passed was living under Thomas's name, but he wasn't Thomas. He was someone else, someone who built a life on borrowed time. You sit back, wondering which version of the man you knew was real, the one who vanished or the one who took his place. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially the ones who can fake a death twice. It was never about closure. It was about who got to wear the mask last, the lie that outlived him. That you sit alone in the darkened room where it all began. The photographs, the voices, the endless versions of a man who never truly lived. You realize now that the lie wasn't just a story told to others. It was the story told to you. A carefully constructed narrative designed to protect, to obscure, to control, and even in death, it keeps spinning because everyone believed it, even after he was gone, even after the truth begged to be heard. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you feel the weight lift, but only for a moment, because the lie isn't just history. It's a living thing, waiting, ready to consume the next person foolish enough to believe it. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Everyone lies, especially when the lie is easier than the truth. It was never about the man who died. It was about the secret he carried and the shadows that followed long after. Word count 11A3. Awaiting final wind down. Ban Danoi. Continue. ChatGPT Danoi. Final wind down 300 words. The rain falls softly outside your window. The kind of rain that blurs the city into smudges of light and shadow, where truths slip away like whispered secrets in the night. You sit alone, the weight of a story too heavy to tell, but too sharp to forget pressing against your chest. Everyone believed his lie until now, but what does it mean when the lie outlives the man? When the truth becomes a ghost, chasing you through memories you don't trust? You wonder if anyone ever really knew him, or if he was just a reflection in a cracked mirror, fractured pieces of a man who vanished before the final chapter was written. And you're left holding the fragments. Some questions remain unanswered, because sometimes the power lies in what we don't say. The faces you saw, the voices you heard, the shadows you chased, they may all be echoes of a story rewritten so many times that even the original author forgot where it began. You lock your doors, draw the curtains, let the silence settle like a shroud, because in this darkness you are safe for now. But always, always watch your back, because some lies don't die, they just wait, waiting for the next listener brave enough to unravel them. End of script. Sleep well and watch your back.